Well, it says I'm live, so if I'm talking to myself, good evening, Keith. If
I
I'm
think you
talking
are.
to the rest of the chat, good evening, the rest of the chat and the people in. Tonight is going to be me,
Here. Yeah.
me talking about bits and pieces that I do, the way I work tools, the way I attack bowls. I'm not a professional, don't profess to be professional. I'm a hobby turner that's been turning seriously for the last 15 years, totally self taught. I've had quite a lot of professionals through our club, which is West Sussex Wood Turners, and I know Alan's in already. So, welcome, Alan. First time we've seen you on this chat. I don't know who else is there. The chat went quite quick just now. So I've got a couple of earworms tonight to keep me on my toes a bit. So if I bring them back in, you've got Mark the gentleman and you've got Brian the hooligan.
It's the hooligan now, just because I'm from Scotland.
It's Scotland, is it? Anyway,
Hi everyone.
these guys are going to keep me
Hi,
on
everybody.
my feet and informed as to what's going on. They're in the background. Tonight, I'm going to make a bit of room to start with so I can put the mouse down. Going to be talking about the presentation of tools to wood. And tonight it will be bowls only. If after this you want more punishment and you would like me to do a little spindle work, I will talk about spindle work. But tonight is about bowls and bits and pieces of the basics, how I do it, why I do it, why I don't do certain things, why I've got funny anomalies that I do. But it works for me. Hey ho. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it anymore. So before the guys get involved in those in the chat, even in Barry as another club member, Barry Chitty. So that's two club members in. I nearly always work with a faceplate ring. That's an F ring. That's a C ring. And I've also got a big A ring as well. So I can go up quite big on wood on faceplate rings. I find these are good because you've got metal to metal joint. There's only 3 screws in there. And where's my pen? I only generally put 3 screws in up to about 12-inch diameter, 2-3 inches deep. Now, the grain orientation on this wood, you can see me, is this way. So I've got 1 screw in one bit of grain. I've got another screw in another section of grain and a third one in another section of grain. What you don't want to do is have 2 screws in the same bit of grain. You can just about see the screws on there. Now, does that make sense to everybody? Because if you've got 2 screws in there, you've basically got 2 wedges pushing the wood apart. So generally speaking, 3 screws on a small bit of wood like this is more than adequate. They're only inch screws, they're inch 8s in old money. So I've got F jaws on my big Axminster chuck. Lock
Change
it on.
camera, please.
Yep.
Can you do that? Right, so we've got a hodgepodge in. Robert from Hodgepodge Woodworks, Barry from Real Simple Things, Chris from Spinning Wood Dodger, Mike Yu, Hobby Wood Turner.
Camera mic.
We've got Chris spinning wood. Corey all chatting away. John N.
That's the bit you need to see there. So,
John N. Tournage de Bois. Hello, Daniel.
hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
While Mark's chasing up through the chat
Oh, yeah.
on this one, this is exactly the same faceplate ring. Set up your dividers to the opening you're going to make before you put it on the chuck. And
Mike the Midnight Joker's in.
then you get the right size rather than do it backwards like I've done.
Alan Wallington.
Hi, Alan, another club member.
John S. TJ Turning. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Seth from Brickhouse Craftworks.
Hi, Seth. See, Pete's
Neil
in
M.
as well. Twisted Pete.
Pete from Twisted Trees. Neil M.
I'll have to catch your live later on, Pete. I've missed it setting this up.
Gerard the French Turner. Tommy's Workshop. Don McKee. Andy H is for turning.
Hi, Andy, another club member. There's 3 of you in tonight.
Duncan the Demon Barber. Douglas Mungham.
In Douglas. Creeping in quick and fast now.
Steve Scott. Steve Robbins. And I think Douglas Mungham. Yeah, I think I've got everybody there.
Okay.
Right, there you go.
Right. Now, most people will use their bowl gouge on the side and pick up the cut and push it through, whichever way you're going to go. Doesn't taste very nice either. Thank you. You can do that. That bounces quite well. As I use a shear cut. So I've dropped the handle right down. The handle is almost in my pocket. I've brought the tool up. I'm rubbing the back wing and controlling the cut on that wing. Through turning the gouge, I can, and right from the start, I'm getting shavings off. So it's a far easier cut to the wood.
It's a very efficient way of removing a lot of timber.
Yeah, that cut as a push cut.
What recipe by Collins in? Hi, Colin.
Hi, Colin. You can see the dust that's come off of that on my hand. All right, I'm getting shavings. But there is a lot more dust comes off that way. There is a little bit of dust coming off this way, but I will say there is quite a lot of worm in this wood as well. So and this is a 1/4 inch bowl gouge. So I'm just going to pull the tool rest a bit closer. Now we always turn the lathe off to do this.
Robert would like to know what RPM you're at, please, Keith.
It says on here Euro 1500. That's about all I've got to go by, but I would think around about 500-ish from eye. You don't need to be fast. The edge of the tool is doing the cutting, doing the work. You're only guiding it, and you can We can twist it, bring in a deeper cut.
Yeah, Gerard, the French turner, has a question. Would the angle of the bevel on the gouge have an effect on the cut you're doing?
Yes, a little bit, but not much. I think I'll put that one down. This has got a far tighter bevel on it. So to get the cut, I have to lift the handle a fraction more. Just turn that off. And most people will know about the 40-40 bevel. Where did I put my pen? There. Don't know what this is going to look like, but most gouges are that sort of shape. The flute and the bar. That goes off back there. So a swept back, which is what I'm using, goes back to there. So actually I'm using this bit here as the cutting edge. It's a bit messy, but
David Eads just joined.
oh, Dave. So that's the bit I'm using. A 40-40 grind is more or less that.
Paul Smith has just joined the chat.
Quite sharp and abrupt. This is
Hi, Paul.
This is about 40. It might be 50. I never know which way you measure them. This is a short, stumpy bottom one. And where did I put it, Mark? Put it in the rack by the looks of it.
It's behind you.
Yeah, it quite possibly is. And that is a 45, which is the grind that suits me. So you've got two different grinds. It is down to you what you use. What works for you? What works for you might not work for me, or Mark, or Brian.
Douglas Mungham's got a question. Keith, how tall are you and how high is the lathe when talking about the handle near your pocket?
I'm 5'7", and the lathe is actually 2 inches too tall for me by normal reckoning. Do you want it in inches off the floor, Douglas? It's 46 inches off the floor to spindle. So it's quite a tall one, but it works for me. The one I've got, no, I haven't got it on legs now. We used to have one that was too small down in the workshop. So what we did was we got some 4x2 and slid it underneath the legs. And that's what I would suggest if you haven't got, or if you've got decent legs that you can put some 4x2 under, gradually build up the height to get to a height that is suitable for you. It's not going to be suitable for everyone. We're all different. We all turn slightly different, which makes us individual turners. But this works for me. It's nice and quiet. I can muller off a fair lump of wood and woodworm dust. I just put my hand in the back of the van and grab 3 lumps out of it.
Colin's asking, when grinding your bevels, how do you work out the angles of the bevels? Can you use an adjustable protractor? Yes, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Same tool, two different. Nice and fine, quite heavy. So I can take an easy, that's 5mm, and that's about 1.5mm off the same tool without adjusting the bevel at all. Just a lighter pressure on it.
And Chris is asking, what's the finish like after that cut, please, Keith?
Well, I'm just going to ironically stop the lathe and say that is straight off of the tool without me taking overdue care on it. I could quite easily go straight to 120 on that, possibly 150, 180 if I wanted to. But this is only fit for the wood burner, which I haven't got, so it's going in the rubbish bin. But there is virtually no tear out on that. Now I'm going to do the same with a push cut, which most of you will do. So bevel on, and this is where you were missing a bit this afternoon, Brian. You were poking the nose of it in and wondering why it was starting to skate. So bevel on, bring the tool round. Don't need a lot of weight on it. Once you've got the cut, the bevel will hold it there. Here's the other hand, nowhere near it. So
Gerard's asking, would a long grind, as the one on the Pro Edge, would work also?
Yeah, this is a medium long grind.
That's a fingernail grind.
This is a fingernail grind. So
The problem you have with a long grind is the longer the grind, the further down the handle has to go to maintain bevel contact. So it does become a little bit more difficult with a long grind. Really, a fingernail grind is about as long as you want to do with a shear cut.
I haven't got any excessively long grind ones. It's not a grind that I particularly like and find that useful. That one's a little bit longer, but still not a massive long grind. I mean, I can see some turners will double the length of that grind. You're doubling the length of the cutting edge, but you're also weakening the cutting edge as well because you're taking so much metal out of it. That again
Steve Robbins,
sand straight off at 120.
Steve Robbins is asking, is the gouge on center when you're cutting?
No, the gouge can be wherever you like. The only time you need it on center is when you're going to finish at center. You can still see, yep. Right, so find center. Center is there. And I can't reach it with the tool rest in the position it was just now. Let me put you on a different camera, possibly. I think it's...
You're still there, Brian?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just reading the
not that
chat
one.
here. I'm just seeing that Pete Twisted Trees answered Gerard and said, yes, it works the same, but it may give a wider shaving.
Right, you can see where the center is. That's where I've been cutting, right down there. So I can bring the tool rest up now. What I need to do is finish at center. Now, whether the tool is level or whether it's pointing down or the point's pointing up, doesn't make any difference. You finish at center because otherwise you won't get a cut I quite often start well above centre on the edge. Rub the bevel, nice easy entry. Bevel's rubbing all the way through. Slow down, swing the handle up, close the flute. So I'm now virtually 7 minutes past on the hour. 12 o'clock, 15 minutes past, no, I mean 12 minutes past, not so I'm just over 10 past, but not quarter past on the clock. So rub the bevel, easy in to start with. Let the tool do the work. Swing it round, right across the middle. That's where you were struggling this afternoon, Brian, a bit.
Yep, indeed I was.
So,
but that's helpful.
Little things like that you've got to practice on, but you don't necessarily need the tool level right the way through. As long as you're cutting at centre, that's the critical bit. The further I go in, the further I will drop the tool rest. So now I'm going to mark my foot. I've already set the dividers up, so it's left wing only.
Yeah, thanks for that, Pete.
Left wing only.
Tournage de Bois, our good friend Double D, has asked a question. Is there an easy way to get a good flattening of the base?
Yeah, don't press too hard. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm aiming the bevel straight in to where I want to cut.
Yep.
I want to go in 90 degrees. So I'm aiming in 90 degrees. Once I'm in there, I can then bring it round and put the base into it. And if you can get over the further side, you can go from the middle out.
Barry's wood turning's in and SK Crafts is in.
Hi Steve, hi Barry. So there's that bit. Now to
evening, Steve.
Perfect the mortise, I've made myself a tool. You can buy them, Axminster sell them.
They do. I have one.
Yeah, quite useful. And I'm now scraping that just about on centre.
Good evening, Jennifer.
So
Jennifer
what have we got?
In.
Hello, Jennifer. You can just about see it there. You can't. You can see it there. That is the angle of the jaws. That is the depth of the jaws. I've ground it back as a scraper, so you can't quite see the angle, but that's ground back at about 60 degrees, so it's a nice scraper. All I do for sharpening this, rather than keep putting it on the grinder, diamond stone, just rub it over 2 or 3 times, job's a good one. So that's a 5/8 normal carpenter's carbon steel chisel. Broken handle, so I whack the handle off, turn myself a handle, so I've got a handle with a bit more length, so that you can rest it underneath your arm, so that your arm acts as a brace for it. So any sudden movement has got to go through your arm and elbow before it twists the handle up. Hopefully that makes sense, guys.
Jennifer, the other earworm is Brian from Hardwood.
Evening, Jennifer.
So,
I've just discovered I've got one of those tools in the kit that came with my lathe.
right, and you didn't know what it was all about.
I had no idea what it was for.
Right,
So it was actually in a drawer hiding. So
right.
I'll have a go at using it tomorrow.
I don't know. I can't remember who it was that asked me how I get a nice flat bottom.
That was Thomas Dubois.
I picked the cut up, Daniel. Let the wood pull the tool in at its own speed. I could make it cut quicker by pushing a lot harder. But you can. And the trick to this one is you're pushing across the bottom of the wood without adjusting the angle of the handle. So you're starting at that angle and you're pushing it across at that angle. Then you'll get a flat bottom or whatever sort of bottom you want on there. That one's about, it is spot on flat, that is, which I wouldn't have because I normally dish mine a fraction. So it sits on the outside edge. So there's that bit. Now, to turn it around is simple. You would finish the bottom normally. Now I put mine on. I just nip it up to it on the chuck. I'll pull the chuck around against the wood, gradually tightening it as I pull it round. Why, you ask? What that's doing or done has cleared any little bits of swarf and sawdust that you might have left in there inadvertently, thinking that you'd got them all out and sanded it all out. That's used the 4 jaws as a cutter. So it's cleaned up the recess. So when I fire that up now, you can't get much truer than that.
So before you go any further, Chris, the spinning wood dodger, has a question.
Go
Is
on.
it important to have the tool rest parallel?
It's
I take
easier.
it he's talking about the flat bottom.
Yeah, it's easier, but it's not essential. You're running the bevel of the gouge down the where you want to go. The bevel of the gouge is a bit like wheels in a car and the steering wheel. If you turn to the left, the tool will go to the left. If you turn to the right, the tool will go to the right. So whichever way you drive the tool, if I want to go straight across it, like I say, I'll just lean into the wood and go straight across it. If I want to go in, I will then bring my body round and the tool round and go in. So I always leave the centre on. It's something I've done because I've had students grab more than the edge of the wood when they come to run that first pass. I'm just taking barely half a mil off. Now I can increase it, and I can increase it right the way down. And what I've done there, I've turned into the cut. I've steered into the cut. So come on there, square. When you're in the cut you want, you steer into it. That will make it cut. If it's cutting aggressive, bring the tool back. And the other thing I do, whether I'm right or wrong, is I always start with the flute almost closed. show you on this one. It's a bit easier, you can see it. I always start with the flute almost closed. Once I get in, I open it. Not fully. A lot of people will start there with the flute fully open. If you're going to get a catch, you're going to get a catch and it's going to go bang and you wonder why. There's a bird flying past your ear. But doesn't matter what the tool is. There's the cut. Turn into it. Now you can open it up.
That's what I was explaining to you earlier, Brian.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, exactly that, Pete. Yeah, I understand that bit.
And with this, I'm not sure whether that's a 1/2 inch or an inch. It's on inch bar. It's 1/2 inch across the flutes. But I use that one for big stuff. But that's what's just come off of that one. So I've got nearly 10mm shavings off of that just by increasing the size. Now, before I take it off, I can come in the other way. I can get virtually full depth if I want to. On a piece of 6x2. So another little hint. If you stand and look either side, your left eye's on the outside, your right eye's on the inside, you can see the profile you're looking for. It's no good standing back here and looking at this side. You know where your chisel's cutting, it's cutting down here. You can't see it cutting because the shaving's coming off. So if you stand back, virtually nose on the line of the edge of the bowl, look down it, you can get a pretty even parallel cut there. When you get to the bottom, don't go to the bottom, I've got to go across. Round the bottom corner off. Don't get to that point there and start to come back. That is where it'll bite. So you go down the middle. I'm stopping just a fraction shy. I'm going in from the bottom and stopping just a fraction shy. So you can watch, and that piece of excellent bit of wood with all that worm in it. I should be glad to take it off because it's so much dust. Is virtually 180 grit straight away. So you don't need a lot of sanding if you're presenting the tools right. So any questions in the chat, or am I doing them as we go along?
I think you're answering the questions as you go. There's no
Good.
questions in the chat currently.
Right. Drop a mouthful of water.
You've been going for 33 minutes or 34 minutes coming up.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's virtually a bowl. That's a bowl done in that time, really, apart from sanding. So,
there's a question from Gary Letizia. Does the steel faceplate not make it more dangerous if it happens to leave the lathe at speed?
No, not really. It's going to hit you whatever. If it leaves the lathe at speed, with the faceplate on there, you can at least remount it and recut the mortise which you buggered up because you've had a catch. So it's insurance. That first one I would take off now and finish it off.
Mark Stoughton's in. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. Yeah.
Evening, Mark.
That is perfectly okay there. if the bit that's going to hurt you is the edge, if it catches you. Like I say, I'm standing back looking down the wings. If that comes off, that's going over my left shoulder, or it's just going to drop on the over the back. And that was on type 2.5 inch mil mortise on the back there. So on a piece of elm, which is out of true, for the looks of it, drop the speed back till I find a happy speed. But most of my outside work will be done around 500. It's out too far. Same chisel, on with the handle, on with the bevel, and there it is. If we want to go massive, and this
Just
one's blunt. Yeah, this one's blunt. It's what I used the other day on the big bowl. But the bevel's on it. It's a shear cut. So with it being shear, where did you put my pen?
That big tool that you're using there actually gives a really good picture of the bevel rubbing as you're doing that cut. It's harder to see on the small tools.
Yeah, that's why I grabbed that one then. Yeah. I'm cutting at about that angle. It's a bit small, but this one cuts at that angle. Can you see that, guys?
Yep.
Just about.
Steve Scott says, is it true if you're turning at a slower speed, the wood comes off, it drops on the floor? Yes, it is.
It doesn't fly so far.
Up to 1,000 RPM, it doesn't fly. It comes off the lathe and goes away from you and down. Over 1,000 RPM, it comes up and at you and away. So
if speed is not. You know about it.
Speed is not necessary to turn bowls well. Good tool presentation, sharp tools. That turns bowls well. You can turn a bowl at 600 RPM just as good as somebody turning it at 2,000 if you've got better tool control than they have.
This is between 500 and 600. So there's the tool presentation. You can have a conversation using this cut as well, because you're not getting any massive hammering as the wood bangs down onto the cutting edge. It's a slicing cut, much more friendly. If you can practice this cut and perfect it, you will save yourself a lot of time sanding.
Pete, there's a difference between a bowl coming off the lathe and a bowl exploding on the lathe. If it explodes on the lathe, yeah, it's going to go everywhere. No matter what speed it's doing.
So without further ado, that is a bit of elm. Apart from wanting a decent pass over it, there's no tear out on the end grain. Two lots of end grain, there's no tear out. It's just got a few rings on it where I haven't quite set up right, but trying to show you guys there's even a knot in there. You don't hear the difference between the knot and the rest of the wood. Bring it round a fraction. Here goes the knot. Do it this
so
way.
John N's asking, and it's a fair point, what's the purpose of different speeds on a lathe if you can turn a bowl on a slow speed? Just gets it done faster,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, it does. There's your push cut. Same piece of wood, but most of that is dust. I'm getting to the end now, and I'm going across the grain, so it's now coming off as shavings. So end grain down here, dust. Still end grain, but further up, it's coming off, but really dusty. See what the cut's like. Go straight onto that with 180 if you wanted to. There's no tear out. And I'm well below centre. Come on, work. Centre is there. So I can't hit centre easily where I am at the moment with the tool rest without jacking the tool up. I would want to be parallel to that. Just about do it, but I've got a massive heel on here, so it makes it awkward. Why would I want to be that awkward? I can get in tighter. You'd want to be in tighter anyway. So I come across here, pick up the cut, push it across gently. And now I'm running out of cut because I'm below centre and it's starting to grab. So I need to bring the tool rest up a fraction so that I can get in there. And pick up the cut, finish at centre. Close the cut, close the bevel off, close the flute off, sorry. It's easy when someone else is doing it. That's why we had a little bit of an issue. There's a knot, bark inclusion, something in there. It's elm. Got a bit of spiral where I was pushing a bit too hard, but the tool is got a bit blunt now. It's done the outside, it's done the other bowl. It wasn't sharpened when I started. Change tool, exactly the same grind, different tool. I think this is a sharp one. Looks like it is. I'm getting whiskers off this time. So the difference of a sharp tool and against a tool that wants sharpening is no spirals on there. Do you want me to cut a mortise in the bottom of this one so you can see it again?
Yeah, why not?
Right. Left hand wing. Score it a bit deeper.
Gerard the French turner. He says, explanation please for a newbie. You don't need lots of speed for turning bolts. No, you don't.
No. No, no, I haven't changed the speed of this at all. This is, like I say, between 500 and 600. Right, pick up your cut. Once the cut's established, I can then swing the handle round 90 degrees, run off the bottom. I'm going to need to stop and move that a fraction because I haven't got the depth over the back of the lathe. I've got another camera over there, so hopefully you can still see it as much as I can.
Good.
Bring the tool rest up so I'm now on centre. No, I'm not, I'm above it there. I'm now cutting at centre. Pick up the cut from the middle out. It is taking shavings off. Just about see it, I think. Put that one down. Pick this one up. Lift the tool rest a fraction so I'm at least above centre. There's the centre, so I've got my handle up. Doesn't show it on that camera that easy. So it's a pass down the side, but as I'm going down the side, I'm actually going out at that angle. I will quite often put a couple of rings in the bottom just as decoration, but that's done with that on the bottom. Sand it up, polish it up, wax it up, whatever you want to do with it. You can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Simple when you know how.
There is a little bit of fluff in the bottom, so put it on. Just to it. Hold one and turn the other. You do it with the key. The jaws are acting like a reamer. Once you've been round a couple of turns, you can tweak it up. Press the go button. No movement at all. Leave the faceplate ring on. Yep, we're clear. Set the bevel up so that it's going straight in. Very light cut to start with. Almost closed, not open. Some people have it open and use the left-hand wing. Can be a bit dangerous. Eye up the bevel. Nice easy cut. Get to where I want to be. Bring the handle round. Now I can start putting my depth on. Quite an aggressive cut. That's all the wing on there. So that is at least a 10mm cut coming off of there. Can run the bevel up against the centre, not doing any harm to the tool.
We have Lawrence just appeared in the chat.
Who's that?
Evening, Lawrence. Lawrence.
Yeah. Hi, Lawrence.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his second name.
Bugala, is it? Something like that?
That's it. Something.
Lawrence Bugaja.
Bugaja. Close. Right, that's pretty well parallel just by looking down the outside.
Yes, Steve, go ahead, mate. He thought he said put whatever links in we need to.
Stop before I get to the joining, touch the bottom. Bit of elm, again, virtually ready for sanding at 120, 180. Don't need to go to 80. There's no tool marks on there. Presentation right, sharp tool. It goes in easy. All right, am I looking at any questions?
Nope. covered them all.
You don't even know who's in. It's better I can see my screen.
Don't worry about that. That's our job. You
Yeah.
just turn.
You have 50 watching, Keith.
Oh,
You
well,
just do
that's
the
fine.
turning.
Yeah. So
50 watching, and you've been going for
hour and
50 minutes.
50 minutes, isn't it? Yeah. So
and very informative, I have to say.
What would you guys like to see me do now? I've got one more bowl blank.
Take the faceplate ring off that and finish the bottom for me.
You always get one awkward bugger, don't you? Sorry, Brian. 3 screws. They're only inch screws, inch 8s. Best investment I made was get several of these, and these are F jaws from Axminster. They're a smaller jaw. Did Steve from SK get the smaller jaws? Because I know we spoke about it, Steve. Because on a 6-inch blank, if you put the C jaws on, you've got a 51, 52 mil recess in the bottom, plus about 15 minimum round the outside. You've got a very small base to it. Not that this one's
Steve
very
says
good.
yes. You got the record ones.
Yeah.
So a little comment from Steve Scott. Thanks, Keith. Brilliant for a beginner.
That's what I'm doing it for, mate. Here's one I did the other day. My preferred shape, but I work both ways. So 6-inch bowl, 6-inch diameter, 2-inch foot, and I can easily get a recess on the bottom of that. If I was to put, I haven't got a spare C, but
Douglas Mungham would like to know what make of screws do you use, please?
These are Toolstations. No, they're not the Unifix, which has now gone bust. That base there is 65. And that actually looks quite nice when it's standing on something. This is what I was trying to say to Brian this afternoon, make the base smaller. You would making this shape, but you were saving wood by not, because you'd bought it. So you thought, I'm not going to waste it and put it on the floor.
I have a good few little blanks in my woodshed that are going to be shaving tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a coloured one. That's not quite so small, but I coloured that with burgundy stain. You can't. Yes, you can see it there. There is silver in the grain there. It's a bit of ash. Just prattling around. That was from my demo the other day when I put an offset centre in it. That's as far as it's got. So there's several ways you can work. If we all work the same way, it'd be a sad old world. So I'm going to push straight across, or as straight as I can. And I haven't touched the speed control on this at all. And now I reduce the centre a bit. And I'm getting full wing cut, 10mm cut. $10mm shavings off of that.
So Pete from Twisted Trees has said, Keith, can you exaggerate the curve and roll of the gouge as you curve at the bottom?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Can you exaggerate the curve and roll of the gouge as you curve the bottom?
Can you
Just exaggerate. Just exaggerate. Do it more than you would really need to.
Well, I can't go any
just
deeper.
let us see.
Yeah, I can't go any deeper because I'd be a Steve SK funnel if I did.
Not an SK bowl.
Because I'm down to maximum depth. But not quite sure what you're trying to ask me to do, Pete.
I think he just wanted you just to exaggerate the movements so as we could see it easier.
Okay. Well, there's the cut, and as I'm coming round, you see where the chisel is now, and see where I'm going with it. I've got to pull out fairly quick on the bottom, but I'm starting there and I'm finishing there with the handle. So that's all but 90-degree movement on the handle, on the chisel. Is that what you're after, Pete? I generally go 2 or 3 down the middle to the bottom. And
Paul Dowling's in. He said, "Hi all, new here, enjoying it. Welcome along."
Hello, Paul Dowling.
Hi,
Where
Paul.
are you from? You local? Now this bit is the worst bit to get out. Basically, that wood on the point of the bowl gouge is static. It's not moving. So gently pick it out. I find it's easier to pick it out sometimes than drive to the centre.
Yeah, Colin from Wood Wizardry has a question. It's equipment related, and I want to get a second chuck. Is it worth getting the full kit of an SC4 or just the companion SC4 chuck? I think the companion comes with nothing.
Bite the bullet, get the full chuck. You won't regret it.
I knew I was close. And go.
Boom!
Round of applause.
Just for Steve. I told you I shouldn't take that last bit off the bottom.
I'm so happy now.
Good.
Oh my, that's the best of us.
Yeah.
I'll send you a sticker.
Yeah, and I knew I was close, but that's why I was reluctant to go down there and show Pete how to do the exaggerated cut on it.
Well done, Pete.
I think that must have been Pete's plan there.
Yeah, he's an evil
maybe
sod.
Maybe you should make that a captive ring now. Steve SK is rolling about the floor laughing at the moment.
So am I. Very difficult to breathe. My name's Chuck George.
There you go. 2 mil wall bowl with a hole in the bottom.
2 mil walls funnel. Very good. There are a lot of comments in the chat now.
Good. I bet they're all laughing.
Oh yeah, of course.
Steve from SK says, "I'm so glad I came in now. Thank you, Keith. You've made my week. No, my year."
I knew we were getting tight. I thought there might just have been enough. You can see what I'm just picking out now. The shavings. Some of those little whiskers are what I cleaned out when I reversed it just now.
Some of those little whiskers were the bottom of that bowl.
Yeah, some of them were.
We've all done it. I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get out of anything.
Pete's got the evidence of me doing it. I sent it to him.
There's a bit of, that's it. There's a bit in there. Right. This is the last blank I've got prepared. So, what do you want to see now, guys?
Tommy's Workshop just said the downfall of a mortise.
Yeah, but at least you haven't got to take it off. You can reverse it in the donut chucks, like we showed the other day.
SK says, do you want him to send you a £2 coin?
No, send me a £5 note. But, that'll pay for the blank then.
Boom. Lawrence Brigager says, do you mark the gouges by tape to know that, for example, you're using a bowl gouge, not a spindle gouge?
No, don't need to.
Different grinds.
Don't need to. Totally different shape.
Midnight Joker says, how about an undercut bowl if possible, without going through the bottom? Sorry, I might have added that bit myself. You're not going to live this down now.
No.
I couldn't give a toss, to be honest.
No.
This one's a bowl gouge. It's quite a bit deeper. Not easy to pick up on the camera. This one's a spindle gouge, very shallow. So you don't need to mark them to know which is which. If you're using them and you don't know which is which, you shouldn't really be using them. But having said that, I can use a spindle gouge across the bottom of this if I want to. There's the cut, same cut. God, this stinks. God knows what this is. I ain't going to be turning much of this. I think it's a bit of monogamy. Yeah, it's brown and horrible, and it stinks. So you can use a spindle gouge exactly the same way on with no overhang. Once you get the overhang, you weaken. You've got less steel there, so you're going to get more bounce. Again, this one's not sharp. This one I just picked up off of the sharpening bench. I ain't going to do a lot of this, guys. I'm sorry. Exactly the same.
You've only got 10 minutes.
Yeah. And I haven't touched the speed at all. This is exactly the same speed on all three bowls. So this is bloody stinking old mahogany. Exactly the same cut. And don't forget, this chisel has been through elm and through the bottom before anyone else tells me. I can't do that cut with a spindle gouge. Not easily, because I haven't got enough wing. I'll probably prove myself wrong. It is just about cutting it. Sorry, I've had enough of that bit of wood. Oh, it's evil. Is it mahogany? I think it is. It's brown anyway. Let's see if I can find a me camera without going down the other end of the workshop. Camera mic. I think if it's not that one, it's that one. Right. Dust extractor off. So, guys, what do you reckon? What are you thinking? Hopefully it was worth popping in tonight.
Was indeed. There's lots of good comments in the
Lots
in
of
the
help.
chat. So lots of interesting information, particularly for newer turners.
Uh-huh.
I certainly learned a whole lot. There's no doubt about that, and things I will be practicing tomorrow.
You're all right. You're dressed, are you, Brian?
Yes, go ahead. I've got my clothes back on, we're fine.
Yeah.
It's only me, apparently, that has a reputation for being undressed.
And pole dancing. Yeah.
Right, folks, 2 things to remember tonight. Straight after this at 9 o'clock, you've got Beard 16 invading Doug Miller from America. And then at 10:30, we've got Lewis, the Klondike Grassman, with his first premiere.
Look over here.
It's not his first video. He's done loads of videos, lots of good work. I think this is his first premiere. So while you guys carry on talking, I'll find the links, shove them in the chat for you.
Okay. So I'm thinking of doing maybe a pen demo for you guys and fill it in with a bit of spindle work. Do you fancy a pen turned with a felling axe? What I do at club to fill in, just to prove that it's not the size of the tool, it's the presentation of it. It always goes down well at club.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I've actually done it with a sharpened Paddy's shovel as well. Not quite so easy, but you can do it. As long as the steel will maintain an edge and you've got enough weight to the steel, you can use anything providing it's safe. You've got something, you can't see now, but you've got something to rest it on, tool rest. You've got something to rest it against, a bevel. And both a chisel and my felling axe have got a bevel rested on. It's a big skew. That's all it is, a big skew with a lot more mass.
The first link is for Lewis Klondike Grassman's premiere, and the second link is for Beard 16's invasion of Doug Miller in 22 minutes.
Well done, Mark.
Got the first one popped up, but I'm on StreamYard, so it's a million miles behind. Alan Wallington. When I was at school, we used a wood called Masonia, an African wood. Oh yeah. Is that what they used to call sneeze wood, Alan? There is one out there that they call sneeze wood. I have issues with this mahogany. I also have issues with olive wood. The oil in that gets up my nose, and walnut, another oily wood, and the oil in that gets up my nose, and I just can't stop sneezing. It's evil.
Douglas Mungham is suggesting how about I'll send a tea light holder, yeah.
I don't do tea light holders, Douglas. I don't see the point. That's practice for you boys. You're not throwing away a lot of wood. You can practice whatever shape you like. A tea light holder would need a decent, a small chuck to hold it in, to throw it off center. And about the only one that I know that you could do that with is something like this from Axminster. It takes a C faceplate. You have to screw into the end of it. A lot of money to be used once. I far more like this one because I can put, and I've got this rigged up for 1.8". The polewood I've got is 1.5" 6. So I've got an 1.5" 6 tapped holder. I've got a multi-centered holder with 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 different radii tapped on this at 3/4 16. I've got a 3/4 16 1.8" adapter. I've got an 1.8" small chuck. I can put that straight on there. I can turn off center straight into that, in that chuck, and I can adjust that between 20 to, I think the biggest one is 58 on there, but I'm not absolutely sure. Don't ask me where that chuck come from, because I've been asked so many times and I can't find the answer to that. But that is a good piece of kit. I wish someone would do something with it and make it again.
We've got a question there from SK Crafts. A question to me. Did you enjoy your life today, mate? He says. Yeah, I did actually. It was an experience. And I've learned a whole lot more tonight, so the next one will be much better.
I don't know whether to take that as a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, we had a little bit of a laugh and a giggle, but hopefully I've put you right on a few things tonight. Pete's saying egg cups are a great practice. Can make double, oval, multiple shapes, and 1 mil thick walls. Yeah, what's the word? What's the point in making a 1 mil thick wall on an egg cup? Some little sprat's going to come along, knock it on the floor, and you've got to make another one. I know it's good practice. Great
for craft fairs.
Yeah, they're great for craft fairs, but not 1 mil thick. I turn mine to about 3 or 4 mil thick walls. Usually got a stock of them in the sales basket indoors, but there's odd times when there's one floating around in here. I think there's one in there that's really, really bloody horrible. No, I think I've thrown it out. I do at times keep odd things. But,
2 minutes.
Yep. Well, I'm happy to sign off now, unless anyone's got anything they want to say. I just need time to go in, have a quick wash my hands, pour myself a beer, have a pee, and fire up the computer indoors because it's warmer in there.
Yep, that's where I'm going to.
Yeah.
Indoors.
So I'm back on again next. Yeah, I'm back on again next Tuesday lunchtime, 1 till I finish, which is already on my Facebook page, and I'm also booked for the following week because next week is going to be a 2-part one. It's going to be a bowl, but it's going to be a bowl with added wood. So without giving too much away, what's the link Steve just put up? I'm not worried.
Battle of the Makers.
Okay.
Battle of the Makers, probably.
Yeah. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, it's Alan
and I have a good laugh normally down in the workshop down at the museum. He's been turning a fair time, but possibly not right. We've put him right, and he's now enjoying himself more. Here's a link for the Battle of the Makers tomorrow night. Steve put in there. That's fine, no problem at all, Steve. Thank you everyone for stopping over, and I shan't say annoying me because that's why we've come out here to do it all. I might do something like this once a month. Depends who's on, what's available, time slots. If Scott's doing a work shift, I might fill in, might grab his slot. of a Thursday evening, the odd one. He knows.
Scott has said he's stopped doing YouTube for the foreseeable future, so Thursday evenings are available.
Okay, so we'll just watch his space. I've done 3. This is 3 this week I've done now. I don't want to make a habit of doing them every night and every day. I don't want to take it away from someone else. This was available.
You don't want us to get fed up with you.
Well, that's it as well. That's it. But I try and make mine educational rather than always a project. The lunchtime ones will be most probably projects with a learning element. The evening ones will be something like this if and when I come back. So if you guys are okay, I'm going to hit the kill button. Yep. So it's cheerio from me until next time, and hopefully see some of you over Tuesday. It's cheerio and thanks to the 2 worms.
Cheers, everyone.
Real guys. Thank you very much.
I'm going to... Bloody mouse would work. Go on.
He's going to shout at me now. When we come offline,
I've got to go offline at the other end.
I'm going to get grief
to work.
I'm going to get loads of grief now, everyone. He's going to shout at me.